this is Tony from her Homestead Skills, and today's video is all about a few little thrift store purchases that I've managed to make. But first of all, if I sounded a little bit sad in my last video in regards to end of season for the garden, well, it is a little bit of a sad time to see the garden end, but it isn't over yet. And yeah, we've got a long, cold winter ahead of us in Ontario, unfortunately. A lot of snow, and I'm not a snow person, so I tend to hunker down and just plan for next year's garden at that point. So nothing to be terribly sad about, and there's still much to do. Definitely want to do another apple harvest and do quite a bit of things with apples, and we'll hopefully try and get some videos out on that as well. And when I finally do harvest those 6 heads of cabbage, we'll be making a whole lot of sauerkraut. So, and speaking of which, one of the first items in my thrift store purchase has got to do with sauerkraut. I found another 1-gallon jug. Now these I can buy, and they cost about $10 here for me. So I found this one for $2.99. The only thing that I wasn't pleased about is that it has a metal lid. I was hoping it would be interchangeable with the plastic lids that I have, but it isn't. So I may switch this one out for my rice or whatever, and use the one with the plastic lid for my sauerkraut. You don't really want a metal lid when you're doing fermenting. So I'll probably need more than just this one jar, but I think I've got a few others. So yeah, it should be interesting. So yeah, at $2.99, awesome deal for this jar. And I know of where I can buy replacement lids for these, which is always important. Next item, and I guess this is also something that I was looking for my garden, and that is a hand crank tomato puree. This isn't the kind that I wanted. I wanted more the one that's similar to my machine, except that it's manual. Unfortunately, to buy a new one, they're around $200, so I'm not prepared to buy that this year, perhaps next year. And so this I managed to find, I think, for $5. So it should do the trick for the leftover tomatoes that we are too plentiful to eat and are too few to pull out my big machine for. So, yeah, I've never used one of these. Hopefully it'll work for me. Needs a good washing, obviously, but looks like it's in good shape. So, yeah, another very useful item for my garden produce. Okay. And I told myself that I would not buy any more mason jars. I have more mason jars than what I need, and I definitely have empties. I'm one of those fortunate people who will buy mason jars when there's a deal, and last year, huge deal, and I bought a whole bunch of pint jars. Today, the pint jars have cost about twice as much as what I paid for them last year, and I think I bought 13 cases. Didn't need them, but they were the regular mouth, and I have a whole bunch of pint jars wide mouth, but the wide mouth lids are twice the cost of the regular mouth lids for me, so it was well worth for me over the long run to have bought those mason jars. But guess what I found? Another one of these just pretty little jam jars that I've just fallen in love with. and they are very expensive to buy, and this one was only $1. Unfortunately, right beside that, there was also these 4 little jars, and I couldn't just buy the one. I would have walked out of that store spending $1, and I just didn't, that day, and I just didn't feel like doing that, and these are always quite useful. So, yeah, $1 a piece, and that's pretty much what they are in the stores, but you have to buy a dozen, and I'm done buying mason jars. I have no need for any extra. My issue is where to put them all. Perhaps I might buy the half-gallon, the very large ones. Those would probably be the only things that I would find a use for at this point. So, okay, that is my thrift store purchases for this week. But I also popped into Dollar Tree, and I found little containers, so 2 different sizes, and I bought 1 2-pack of the large size and 1 4-pack of the small size, so that if I ever get around to making the comfrey salve, I'll have something to put them in. Now, my comfrey has been infusing in oil, and I don't want to do it the quick method. I could certainly put it on the stove and warm it up and probably infuse it within a few hours, just doing it very gently with heat, but I've just put it in a jar with the oil, and I'm going to let it sit there for a few weeks and just not disturb it. And when I feel that it is ready and I have the time, I may try to make comfrey salve for the first time. I've never made it before. So, yeah, that's my thrift store purchase for this week. I'm also in the throes of collecting a lot of the end of the produce from my garden and a lot of the seeds, and my dining room table is a disaster all the time. I'm harvesting my Italian oregano, so the herbs. Actually, let me show you. Okay, hopefully it isn't too dark in this room, but here I have my Italian oregano, which I have dried, and I just rub it between my hands to loosen the herb, and then I will toss that away. So I'm doing this slowly whenever I feel up to it. I also have a whole quart jar of my chamomile for chamomile tea. Now this is also some of the oregano that I've already loosened, harvested. I have this lovely pumpkin, a pie pumpkin that was gifted to me by one of the other gardeners that I am going to take the seed from and probably make a lovely pumpkin pie within the next week or so. And I am, as I said, in the throes of collecting seed right now. So here is the dill seed that I collected from my garden. I just have to label this, but dill seed is pretty standard. It's pretty easy to tell what it is. Some tomato seeds, my grape tomato seeds, I've got more on the go there. I just decided that wasn't enough. The oregano that I've separated the seeds. I have the cucumbers, so they're all ready to go for next year. And I also decided to save the seed from the few marigold plants that I have. Now I'm not through collecting seeds. I have actually started to take some of the dried beans, but they aren't quite dry enough yet, so as they dry I will take them and save them. And I got my first 2 pea seeds. Hopefully there'll be a lot more than that. But yeah, just the beginning. And still working at it. And yeah, there's still lots to do in the garden. I also have harvested these folks, and when I do open them up, I'd like to eat some of them fresh. Don't want to preserve everything. I want to try and eat as much food from the garden fresh as I can. Those potatoes that we harvested were absolutely awesome. I can't believe how delicious they are. So yeah, it's not always preserve, preserve, preserve. It's preserve the excess and try to eat as much fresh as we can. So anyway. Well, it was supposed to be all about my thrift shop, but of course gardening always seems to get in the way. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you on the next one.